Not sure what to expect when you cross the ocean for your first international tour? Well, your old pal Mike's here to walk you through it, step by step. I'm Mike Quackenbush, and this is Till We Make It. Here on my channel, I make videos for fellow professional wrestlers at every single stage of their career. And I do this because when I was just starting out in wrestling, I didn't have a coach to teach me, nor did I have a mentor to guide me. And the lack of that veteran wisdom, knowledge, and experience to call upon did play a significant role in my failure to achieve my ultimate career goal. And I don't want that to befall anybody else. Today's video is dedicated to loyal member of the Till We Make It tribe, Adam, who requested it. And while this will have broad applications to lots of working pros out there right now, I want to make you aware that if you need more individualized attention on a certain topic, like preparation for wrestling training, refining your in-ring persona, even feedback on a recent match that you had, reach out to me for a one-on-one at the link in the descriptus down below, because delivering that kind of personalized attention is exactly what the Wizio platform is designed for, and we can connect there. I'll be happy to help you out with whatever you need. Now, let's dive in. The very prospect of your first international tour will probably summon to mind good questions like, do I get paid before or after the tour? Who's responsible for my airfare or hotel expense on this tour? And the answer is, every tour is different, and every wrestling organization is different. So there's no one single answer to these logistical questions. But you do need to get answers to those questions before you accept the offer to go on tour. That's why you need to be a clear and effective communicator while you are negotiating. And while having those conversations with the tour promoter or booker, I think there are 3 key points that you've got to cover. And we're going to cover all 3 of those points in the video you are currently watching. So well done, you. Up first, let's cover the topic of pay. And I want to start with a brief discussion of deposits. Seasoned pros, or talent that's in extremely high demand, may expect to collect a deposit at the time of accepting a booking. And anywhere from 20 to 50% upfront deposit is considered acceptable within the industry. This is essentially a guarantee of future work because talent that's in very high demand will end up turning down other bookings in order to honor their commitment to that organization. And so they are insulated against cancellation and lost work by that deposit money. In my experience as a promoter, I've even had high demand talent tell me that it is not their word nor a handshake that seals a deal, but when they receive the deposit. And effectively, on a highly contested date, whatever wrestling organization got them the deposit the fastest was who they were going to work for. For those pros out there who are a little less in demand, those who do not enjoy worldwide star power, demanding a deposit up front for an international tour may actually be a bit of a misstep. It is generally the sort of thing associated with seasoned pros and talent which is in very high demand. And in my experience as a wrestler, the only time I've ever asked for an upfront deposit before accepting a booking for an international tour is when that exact booking is with an organization that I have no prior relationship with whatsoever. If it is a company that I've wrestled with before, or it is run by people that I have a good working relationship with, the truth is, I would actually feel a little bit guilty about asking for a deposit because I also appreciate the promoter's side of things and understand the financial strain that can put on a small wrestling company. Furthermore, on the topic of pay, you want to get really clear on when you're getting paid. So if you have an upfront deposit, when are you getting the balance? If there's no deposit, when will you see your payout from the tour? And in many cases on international tours, that comes on the last night of the tour. However, I've absolutely been on tours where the payout is done after each individual event. Regardless of what the setup might be, you want to get really clear on that while you're having the negotiation. Make sure to have that conversation before you agree to accept the booking. A pro tip for you. If you're going to work in a country where the currency is different than it is in your homeland, you'll want clarification on what currency you're being paid in. So you might be thrilled to learn that you're going to be paid $250 for every match you have on the tour. But if that turns out to be 250 pesos, then you're going to end up with about 12 US dollars for each of your matches. And take it from me, that's a mistake you'll probably only make once in a career. Okay, up second, let's talk about your travel expense. And when we're talking international tours, often the biggest part of that expense is the airfare to get you there. But that's not the whole equation. Remember, there's also the ground transportation once you get there to consider. And because there is no universal standard for how this is handled in pro wrestling, you need to have a conversation about it. I'll give you a few weird examples from my own career. I've absolutely worked for wrestling organizations where I was expected to buy my airfare up front, then present my receipts on night one of the tour for reimbursement. I've also worked for wrestling organizations that would cover all the expense of flying you there, but once you were actually on the ground, you are responsible for your own ground transportation moving from venue to venue along the tour route, and I've also seen every variation thereof, because there's no one way of doing things in professional wrestling. Even the way the WWE moves their talent between events on tour is different from how New Japan Pro Wrestling moves their talents between events while they're on tour. So remember this, every tour and every opportunity is unique. Apparently I've been really lax about this lately, so how about we super kick up some engagement, huh? Down below in the comments, tell me what country you would most like to tour. Up third, we got to talk about your accommodations while on the tour. Are they going to be booking you a hotel room each night? Or will you be expected to stay with one of the other wrestlers in their apartment or their house? Or maybe the company has their own dojo or they own some other facility where you're going to be crashing. Whatever the case might be, you want clarification on that before you agree to take the booking. When I went over to Michinoku Pro back in the 00s, most nights I slept in a bunk bed in the company-owned dojo in the Iwate Prefecture. It was only on the last night of the tour that they had enough budget to get me a hotel room. I knew that up front. I had to weigh those things, decide what was really important to me, and make the decision that felt right. Remember, every tour and every opportunity is unique. So as you now understand, there is no one single way these kinds of things get done. Just like there's no single way to have a pro wrestling match, nor is there a single way to conduct your pro wrestling career. But I want to take this opportunity to dropkick an old wrestling tenant right in the face, Okada style, once and for all. And it has to do with this bit of popular wisdom I have heard repeated so many times I have lost count. It's this, that a true professional wrestler would never pay for their own airfare. Here's how I feel about that. Anyone who says that a true professional wrestler would never pay for their own airfare is speaking from, loath though I am to say this aloud, a position of privilege. If you happen to have those kinds of awesome opportunities lavished upon you at all times, that you can take that stance, well, cool. But not everybody does. And I'll tell you the story of what happened to me back in 2003, when I very much wanted to break Europe open. I had wrestled all over the United States and Canada, but I had never crossed the Atlantic. And Chris Hero was kind enough to alert me that a tournament taking place in Germany was suddenly down a man. They had Juventud Guerrera booked, and at that time, Juvi found himself in some kind of trouble, which basically meant he would not be entering a foreign country for some time. So, they needed somebody, and they needed somebody quick. I reached out to the promoter right away, and as is par for the course in my career, of course, he had never heard of me. And you can imagine, he was then somewhat reluctant to use what little amount of money was still left in his budget at the 11th hour, and then spend it on a wrestler he had never heard of before. And truth be told, if our positions were reversed, I don't know that I would take that gamble either, especially when you consider how much international flights cost back then. But I made him this offer. I said, I will get myself to your venue in Essen, Germany. Effectively, I'll buy my own airfare. And I'll do this tournament match for you at no risk. If it turns out you don't like my work, don't pay me a dime. This really is at no risk to you. But if it turns out that you do like my work, we'll talk about my rate and all the expenses then. You know what? He did take the deal. And this was at the height of the tenet that true professional wrestlers would never do exactly what I had just proposed. And that's exactly how I broke Europe open. Just a year later, I was light heavyweight champion of that company. And 2 years later, I was their world champion. In the 5 years that followed, I toured Europe more than 20 times. Not just Germany, but Switzerland, Austria, Holland, Italy, the UK, and more. And all of those memories I made over there, all of the friendships I forged while touring abroad, none of that would have been possible if I hadn't ignored that tenet of wrestling, if I hadn't broken that rule. Remember, every tour and every opportunity is unique, and you just want to get clear on 3 key points before you agree to go: the pay, the travel, and the accommodations. That's it. One of the first videos I ever made for the Till We Make It channel is to prepare you for traveling abroad, and that video is appearing up here right now. And oh man, I forgot to ask you to hit like. I'm doing such a lousy job with that stuff. Would you hit like, please? Also, down here, there's a video appearing about working with Mexican and Japanese wrestlers, which I think you'll find helpful. I hope I got that all out in time.